Trading Weekly. We have hit August of 2026. How are you feeling about that, Kay?
Wow. I mean, the year is passing by. How many years have we been doing this? Three and 4 years?
Three, I think. Yeah, three on like video, 3.5. We did some on your kind of X Spaces back in the day.
Yeah.
But video is where it's at. Video is what people like. Video is easy to clip. So we're going to continue doing video. Of course, I have changed the graphics once again. Seems to happen every couple of months with me. But I'm liking this. I like I like the feel. How do you like it, Kay? You
I
good?
love it because you asked me to change my background as well, and so
I
you
did,
get to
yeah.
see a different background. So
Well, it's
it's not
because
like
before you had half of the Invest K behind you and people didn't know who you were. Quite
listen.
clearly.
I mean, I'll tell you this. I am not the best of the best when it comes to the designing aspect. That's not my forte, but
Yeah.
I
See,
take lessons from you on this one.
what he's saying is he always gets me to tell him what to do in that respect, and that's fine. That's all good. I'm happy to do so. Anyway, back to the stream. Happy trading, everyone. Make sure, well, hopefully you're okay and you've had a good trading week. I've had a pretty quiet week myself. Haven't really traded much. In fact, not at all really. I've kind of closed a couple of positions of JP Morgan, kind of pushing up, and still got quite a few left, so that's not an issue. Hopefully we get another push up above all-time highs. But yeah, how's your trading this week, Kay? Okay.
So very similar to yours. I did enter into SpaceX. So SpaceX trade went well. I opened a CSP. I was being very, very conservative because next week they report earnings. So because it's going to be the
Yeah.
first earnings, I don't want to
Yeah.
take a chance. So I closed that. I did enter into SOFI. Where when SOFI had that big drop, I opened a CSP for $15 for a month out to get good premiums. I think I am. I think I'm up. I don't know how much. I think over 50%. So I will see on Monday, Tuesday if I am like 50, 60% up. I might close it out. Because that's how I generally like to with SoFi is like every time it falls, I 15, 16, 15, 14
Yeah.
is what my range is, and I get into it and then I close it out. What other thing? I think AMD, unfortunately, I do have a position in AMD and it's right around the cost basis of 490. So I was planning to sell a covered call if AMD could go up, but AMD actually retreated back to 476 or something like that on Friday after going up. So it's a very interesting trade. Um, so more to
Yeah.
talk on
Okay.
AMD today, but it's a very critical earning for next week.
Yeah, I was going to say we can touch on that a bit later on, obviously, because your pick is AMD today. My pick is SoFi, so we just mentioned both of those actually in the opening part there. But before we jump into the stream, make sure you follow Wolf Financial up on the top screen there. We really appreciate your support as well, Wolf. And of course, make sure you put your stock tip requests in the comments down below. We've had a couple already from the usual suspects. We'll go through them in just a second. But of course, we're just a couple of guys on the internet looking at charts, giving our thoughts and perspectives, and we just like to do it. So, of course, it's not financial advice. Let's go through a couple of picks. I don't know if you've written them down, Kay, but we've
Yeah.
got some from ManRam here, Palantir, ARM, CRDO, and ALAB as
Yep.
well. So, happy to go through those, ManRam. Money Managed, welcome back. We've got the Russell 2000, which would be interesting to see. I haven't looked at that for months. Marvell, Nebius, and of ENS, whatever
Iron.
that one is as well. So,
Oh, ENS,
yeah,
not iron. Okay, okay.
yeah,
Good.
ENS there. So we'll take that down. We jump into the slideshow as we always do. Usual running as we've got today, our stock picks of the week are SoFi and AMD, which we mentioned. But make sure you get those audience requests in nice and early. We've had quite a few already, so yeah, get them in nice and early. But the rest of it is all on the chart there, as you can see. On the stream, sorry, not on the chart. Last week's performance actually pretty positive in my opinion. I mean, I say pretty positive, it was really positive. So you can see Google massively up almost 12%, Microsoft up 20% last week, Amazon up a massive 16%, which will go down really well on another slide a bit later on. Meta down 8%, which is a bit of a shame there, and obviously Nvidia and Apple kind of floating around that 3-4% down as well. And Tesla you can just about see above Kay's head there, down 3%, which is not too bad considering the week before, because I think it was down about 15-20% overall. Yeah, you can see down the bottom left-hand corner there, we've got obviously part of the electronics section. Micron down 15%, AMD down 13%, you've got Intel on 10%. So there's some semiconductor kind of feeling names kind of a bit depressed at the moment. What are your feelings on that at the moment? Do you think we're going to get a bit of a boost this week with AMD earnings coming around the corner?
Well, that's why I do think that this is going to be a very critical week four, because if you so the point is that a lot of times I'm confused and most people will be confused. Is AI trade on or off, right? Because data centers are all getting hammered. Semiconductors are all getting hammered, and if everything is getting hammered, then AI trade is off. Now the reason, if you, one of the things that you notice why Microsoft earning was did phenomenally well is because they controlled on their capex. They said we're not going to spend too much, we're going to maintain the same capex. So suddenly everybody's starting to focus on the profit margin here. I'm pretty sure within the next earnings or within a couple weeks, this is like a pendulum, right? One week we want to spend more so that we don't fall behind. Next week, or we need to focus on not spending too much money. So I think we are just in this ping pong situation where every day is a different day. And I think for semiconductor next week, it is AMD's earnings are very, very important, because if AMD gets hammered another 10-15% down, it's going to drag the entire market. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, it does not matter whether Nvidia beats the earning by $2 billion or not, because what the market has gotten used to it, right? They're used to Nvidia overperforming, beating their earnings, and the market will still be flat or down. So, and if you look at Nvidia's chart, it is very, very perfect chart for like a staircase up, right? So it goes up, and then like it's gonna barcode for a while in a range, and then take a leg up, then barcode, 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 then go up. So that's how Nvidia is performing. So Nvidia is no longer going up like in a rocket ship. And I think the AMD's trade is going to impact the entire market. So the memory is going to get impacted. Marvell is going to get impacted.
Yeah, the whole
Nvidia is going
lot.
to get, yeah. Nvidia, if you remember, Nvidia was stuck in this 150, 190 range for a very long time. Then it ran up to 240, and then it's again back into this 190, 210 range. And this is how it's going to be performing. So we need that next catalyst. Uh, Tesla, the reason you don't see down, because it's already down $100 from its
Yeah.
400 level. So I hope Tesla falls down further, because I have another. I need to manage my old trade, so I hope Tesla falls next week. That's that to so I don't have to pay too much for it. But yeah,
Interesting case. Looking forward to hearing that if that does mature in the near future. Moving on to the next slide, then we've got Fiat and Greedy next. We're sitting at 42, which is slightly up from 1 week ago by 1 point. So last week we were sitting at 41. Of course, the geopolitical news keeps going on and on. The Strait of Hormuz is open and closed by the hour, it seems. There was a bit of news on that about 9 hours ago, something like that, where they've kind of tied up talks and it's back open again. But I don't know what to believe anymore in that respect. But yeah, on the left side there, obviously got the SPY kind of up flat, and the QQQ kind of down flat, if that makes sense. Do you want to talk to the key events next week, Kaye, apart from the earnings, of course, which we'll get onto in a second?
I think job openings, that is going to be the main. And I think the key is, and I don't want to be too skeptical here, but it was expected that the breaking news that came out yesterday, that the Federal Reserve has no plan to raise the interest rate. Why is that? It is very simple. And most people will not like to say this on camera, whether it's CNBC. It's because it's an election year. If you raise an interest rate, stock market is going to take a hit. Now, you're already in August. You don't want a stock market hit in September, October timeframe, because that's going to impact your voting block. So this is like it's right out in the open, but people just don't want to admit it. But that's how it's going to be. That's the reason they don't want to increase the interest rate. Because end of the day, you're nowhere near 2% inflation. So unless you tell me, or you change the policy and say, okay, we are fine being at 2.5 or 3%. But that's really the case. So I don't even know at this point in time what key events we should be watching, because
Yeah,
it's
it's take it day by day at this rate, isn't it?
now I'm just, again, depends on which side of the aisle you are, and this is not a political channel, so we're not going to go into that. But if you notice, like, generally in this administration, because the volatility in terms of the news events are much higher, or w- better to say, it's much more out in the open, like every day is a new day. So the market reacts much faster. Now they are also now selling $100,000 per month subscription to the Truth Social API. So what does that mean? It means that anything that goes inside, these hedge funds who are paying for these services will get the news at the drop of a hat, which means that they will be able to take those trades accordingly. So you will expect more volatility because of it. as we go through this. So very very interesting times. I think for retail investors and traders, I think being disciplined in your trade is the only way, because you cannot beat these hedge funds or people who have access to this information ahead of time.
You just made a lot of traders get very excited by those words that the volatility is going to increase. So yeah, if that's your thing, then of course, then great, cool. Interesting stuff in the market, though, isn't it? Really, at the moment, it's a tricky one. I'm mostly just kind of sitting out at the moment, just kind of concentrating on other stuff. But yeah, moving on to earnings. Then obviously we're still in the thick of it, as you can see on the screen here. Lots and lots of big names. Let's start with Monday. We've got Palantir and Snap for me. It's one of my picks of the year. It's not doing so well, but there's always time to kind of turn it around in the second half of the year. Tuesday, we've got the first one of SpaceX, first earnings report of SpaceX. A couple of big names as well. AMD, of course, massive one. Zeta, which is popular within the industry. Caterpillar, which seems to be just climbing up month by month, which is great. And obviously on Wednesday, we've got Shopify. I'll turn over to you in a minute, Kaye, don't worry. Shopify, Uber, Walt Disney, Mercado Libre, which is always a good one. That's an interesting one. It dropped off a cliff a few months ago, whenever that was. But it's interesting to see if they can kind of recover a bit. And Thursday, we've got DraftKings at the top of the bill, which is interesting. We haven't heard from them for quite some time. Airbnb, of course, always there and thereabouts. And on Friday, finishing off with Oklo is probably the biggest name, the kind of nuclear name that people kind of really got into, actually, but I haven't heard much in the last few months. So anything I've missed there on the screen, Kay?
Yeah, so on Tuesday, going back, AMD is definitely something you would want to watch. Arista Network, again, it's more on the AI networking side, and we will touch upon that a little bit later. On Wednesday as well, you missed the SanDisk and Western Digital, so that's again the AI memory side trade.
Yeah.
You did touch Uber. I think I'm interested on Thursday before market open is Datadog, which is your typical SaaS name. And then the trade that I've been like down massively 80%, 60, 70, 80% is on the trade desk. So that's in the SaaS marketing SaaS. So Zeta and Trade Desk, very interesting names next week. I think there's Astra Lab also on Tuesday, on that side. Yeah. App Lovin is like I think we covered App last week or the week before.
Last week, I think it was, yeah. Big week then for earnings. There's probably a few more on there that are not actually on the screen as well. I found sometimes that some of the bigger earnings, but earnings I'm more familiar with, are just not actually on that screen.
Exactly.
So just be careful if you've got names and the trading earnings are not on this screen here, because obviously.
Yeah, and then also there are a couple of these like Circle, Hut 8. These are your typical Bitcoin mining kind of companies. They also report earnings. So it's a very very interesting week, I would say.
Very volatile. Have you got anything you want to play for the earnings? I know sometimes you do like to do that, but
yeah, no, I think the only thing I may play if we see a big dump in SpaceX, I may open a cash secured port for SpaceX because it's reporting the earning for the first time. We don't have data, we don't have any trend, so I'm not playing for the earnings. I will take after the earnings, decide what we want to do. So same thing with AMD, same thing with SpaceX.
Yeah, nice. I've been interested in Zeta as well. I've been looking at those in the last kind of 6 months. I've traded it here and there, but I haven't really got myself a cemented long-term position. It's just a bit too volatile for that sort of thing at the moment. But seeing if they can really post some good numbers once again will be interesting to see, because they're kind of stair-stepping up a bit like SOFI and Palantir in the past. So it's good to see that within the company. But obviously the stock is all over the place, so you can't really invest in it long term. You can, but it's difficult. We move on then to the next slide, which is the SPY weekly chart. And of course, we had a pretty good week, as we mentioned a couple of slides ago. And you can see that reflected in the latest candle up here. It's a nice hammer candle, which for the weekly is really good, really bullish, typically for kind of future price action. We've got lots of volume here on the right side that we're kind of pushing through. What we need now is another good week. Nothing special. It doesn't have to be, a god candle or anything like that. It just has to be a positive week, perhaps taking out this most recent high. So somewhere sitting around 760 would be ideal. It's only a $20 move, and these numbers that we're producing at the moment, that's probably just probably not even 1%. So yeah, that's the move I would be looking for. moving forward. And of course, if that does close above that, then future price action would indicate that we might make a little move towards $800, which we've mentioned before. And what happens then? I have no idea. But of course, these are just words that I'm saying, and it could go anywhere. What are your thoughts on this chart at the moment, Kaye?
I think the only catalyst that I think near term could be the conclusion of the US Iran war.
Yeah.
That could push it to 800. I mean, I see no other way how it can go to 800, because see, most of the earnings have already been reported, right?
Mm.
And they did pretty
Yeah.
well. So it's not going to be the earnings. And from a drop standpoint, we cannot predict any black swan events. So I'm not gonna go there. What could happen around the world? I mean,
Anything.
I see no way where you can touch 800 right away without having some sort of a major catalyst, and which of course would be the US Iran war, right? Having that as a conclusion, some sort of a deal getting signed. And if that happens, I think a lot of these names that are down 50-60%, they will see a rally, and you'll see the same thing with I think we may get from the fear all the way getting into greed pretty fast if that happens.
Yeah. That'd be really good for my Leap portfolio. That'd be nice to see. But we'll see what happens. We'll move on to the next slide then, and this is the past performance slide. Once again, I take the win. That is now 8 in a row, 8 weeks in a row, or 8 sessions in a row, should we say? So 12-6 on the year. I'm sorry, Kaye, but you might have a chance this week. You picked AMD again, right?
Yeah, I think Amazon really surprised me.
Same. Yeah. I thought maybe like 5 or 6%.
If I would have chosen Microsoft, I would have had a chance.
True. Yeah.
Right.
Well, you would have beaten me if it's Microsoft. They're at 20%, I think, weren't they?
Yeah, but I was very surprised with Amazon. I will not lie. I mean, after a long time, finally, Andy Jassy's earning finally did something. Now, I'm very happy you won, because I hold a lot of Amazon, so it's good for my portfolio. That's not a problem. But it's been a very lackluster performance by Amazon for many quarters now. And the problem is it's stuck in the same bar, in this range. And until you have some sort of a catalyst that it can get to the 300 range, Amazon has not been performing. And I mean, I'll tell you this, because I've been an Amazon investor since 2012, long time back. Andy Jassy just has not a great CEO from a stock shareholder perspective. He may be a great CEO from technical standpoint. I don't know. I cannot
Yeah, but he could always build that reputation.
Yeah, but like I give you an example. Like for Apple, a lot of criticism of Tim Cook is that he is not an innovator, which I agree. But I don't care. You know why? Because my shareholder returns are solid, off the charts, holding Apple since 2011, 2009, 10 time, right? I'm very happy from a shareholder standpoint.
Yeah.
But Jassy has been a pretty, let down. So hopefully this trend continues into next quarter and a couple more quarters, so we can start to see Amazon finally actually delivering. Because if you notice on X or any place, nobody is saying Amazon cannot deliver, but the stock price is not reflecting the business outcome, the business potential. Look at all the things Amazon is doing. Stock price is like
Yeah. No, it's exciting times for Amazon investors for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll move on then. We won't touch on that, but I know we've got to go through what we're doing. So I've got, obviously, I'm on X as well. I post relatively frequently, I'd say. YouTube will take a little bit of a break recently, but I'm looking to get back into that in the next couple of weeks. Summer is very busy time for a lot of us. What are you getting into at the moment, Kaye? I know you've got a lot of things happening at the moment, haven't you?
Lot of stuff happening, on the Substack. I think today I published another article. It's called the AI bottleneck after chips. So this is the AI series from more of an investment standpoint. I mean, of course, you can take those as trade aspect as well. But what basically is we are looking at the entire AI stack, not just like specific tickers. And the reason I'm writing this series is not just to tell you that I understand these things, because I don't understand everything, and I'm learning as I'm writing. So these are a lot of rough thoughts, and then I also show you what are the things I'm missing from my investment. Like for example, memory trade was like I didn't even know memory trade existed, and I completely missed Micron, completely missed SanDisk, and all those others. I mean, I did get AMD right, but as you can see, I was good at the chip side, completely missed memory, completely missed many other trades. So this is like a learning series for myself, and I'm sharing that on Substack as we are going through, and some of the investment opportunities, not trading, by the way. Uh,
Yeah.
I do publish individual trade tickers as well, so definitely subscribe. It's free, and similar content coming on YouTube. I think once summer kind of like starts to die down in September, that's when I will be a little bit more focused on YouTube as well. Yeah.
Yeah, switching that focus, I think, yeah, important. Okay, you can get that at InvestK, which is the handle there for all three of those platforms. And now we'll move on to the first chart of the day, or first pick of the day, should we say, which is the SOFI Weekly. And I'm not going to spend too much time on this because I brought it up a couple of weeks ago, or 3 or 4 weeks ago, whatever that was now. Really, really simply, it's come back into the zone that I really liked. So I did add when it came down on, relatively, I think it was about just under 15, something like that, which is a really good price now looking back at it after the last couple of days trading. As you can see on the screen there, it's bounced off there nicely, kind of pushing out of that volume profile on the right side as well. And I'm sure there's a few kind of smaller time frame moving averages thereabouts. Graphic on the screen here, we've got members obviously increasing. This is all the quarters. All these bars represent each quarter, going back into like last 4 years or something like that, 5 years almost maybe. And the revenue as well. So, we like to see charts that go from bottom left to top right. That's the kind of things that we're looking for. Of course, you can talk about net profit, which is kind of flat, I think, quarter over quarter. And the shares outstanding have increased slightly over the last couple of years as well. But I think the most important thing is obviously they're making money, and their customer growth is getting a lot higher. And I think I just think it's really impressive, Kaye, for a company like this. Obviously, it's not it's not fancy, it's not fun or anything like that. It's not your Palantir or anything like Quantum or anything like that. It's essentially just a bank. But yeah, I think these companies are often slept on, and I think we can definitely take a lot of money from these companies essentially over the years. If you hold this for 5-10 years, who knows where it could be. It could be back up to, not back up to, but it could be up to kind of $100 plus. And you're talking about 8 or 9 bagger there, so that's not too bad.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on so far at the moment? I know you're quite positive on them as well, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think in the last couple quarters, I have like stayed away from SoFi, and I think maybe it was last year when I said I'm exiting SoFi, and the reason was because I needed to move that capital into other opportunities. But I think with SoFi stock price coming back to the 15-16 range, I started getting interested back again. So I do have a position open in SoFi, and the reason is because I tend to trade in a range. So as once it comes into my range, I start to trade again. So getting in, getting out, running the wheel strategy, it makes a lot more sense. I don't chase the stocks. Some stocks, like once it moves out of my range, I forget. I move on to the next opportunity. So SoFi is back. So a lot more. And if you remember, a lot of, like, we have been talking about SoFi from a very, very long time, when we started back in 2020, when it wasn't the
Did
most
all this over here. Did
yeah
all
when
this
it
here.
wasn't the
All this
most
here.
followed stock. But yeah, I mean, we have been trading SoFi for a very long time. It's I think they are delivering on the promises that they have been doing. But end of the day, it's a bank. End of the day, it's a credit card. End of the day, it's not something innovative, like, not let me put it this, it's not something that you don't have it currently today. Because see, Robinhood also is a very, very strong contender in that. Whatever services SoFi is doing, Robinhood is doing probably better. So that's a really big contender, right? I mean, if you're going to look at the future Gen Zs and Gen Alphas, banking, I mean, Robinhood is right up there at the top. They may not choose SoFi, they may actually choose Robinhood.
Yeah, I mean, owning both doesn't hurt as well if you got in at the kind of right times.
Yeah.
And obviously, there's always plenty of opportunity to get back into these stocks. Of course, you need to be patient and have a look at the technicals, in my opinion, and obviously follow the fundamentals, which is the most important part. But yeah, having a look at both of them wouldn't be a bad option at all. I
Right.
was going to mention something else, but I can't remember what it was for SoFi. Oh yes, the S&P inclusion. Obviously, it hasn't happened yet, but there is definitely rumours that they're literally just around the corner from it. So keep an eye on that in the next kind of 6 months or so. I can't remember when the next possible inclusion is. It's a couple of months away. And then, of course, we've got around that kind of Christmas period as well. So we'll see if they actually finally get in, which would be really, really exciting for investors and well, traders maybe as well. Okay, let's move on to your pick of the week, which is AMD once again. Really exciting, this chart. I think it's kind of a bit all everywhere. But what are your thoughts?
So first of all, these two blue lines that you see, the 516 and 437, those are basically the 8% plus minus move from the current stock price. And that is basically the actual move for earnings. But forget about that line. Nowadays, AMD generally, when the AI sector runs, sometimes the stock is up $50, $60 in a day, right? And we just need to get used to it that, back in the day, maybe before this whole AI trade actually began, for companies this big of a size, they would not move this much. Like a 2%, 3% up was used to be a very, very good day, an amazing day. Now these stocks are up 8, 9%, 10% in a day. And I'm talking about stocks that are worth few $100 billion, right? That's very difficult to move. But anyways, so that has changed. And also from an earnings standpoint, it's going to beat the earnings. It's going to beat the top line. It's going to beat the bottom line. The data center will continue to grow. So the 2 quarters back, the data center revenue was 21 billion. The previous quarter, they brought in 21.3 billion. I think prediction this time is 21.6 billion or something like that. The revenue estimate is, but that was the whole 12-month. I'm giving you the update. But for next quarter, they expect to bring 11.31 billion, which is up from the previous quarter, which was 10.25 billion. So you're already looking, 1 billion over from the previous quarter. So 34 up revisions. Now, the question is, how will the market take it? That is the only question. And I think if AMD currently has this, top resistance of 590, the stock has run up there and, has not been able to break it. But we do have this gap around this 380, 400 level, which also you see this purple line, which is the 100-day SMA coming up around the 400. So that does provide a long-term support. But again, when it comes to these earning reactions, it doesn't matter. No support, no resistance matters at this point. You will have gap ups and you'll have gap downs. So I think I don't have any predictions. I'm just a watcher. I'm just an audience to see how it happens. But it's definitely the actual move of plus 8, 9%. That's what you're looking at for the stock to move.
Yeah, I think it could be a lot more than that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That might be the average now, but the way, you mentioned it there, the way the market is at the moment with these stocks, particularly, it can be 20, 25 after the day is done. Is it Tuesday after the close? Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. No, that'd be interesting. I'm interested to take maybe a very small binary gamble on this potentially. Very small. Pocket money, a meal out type thing. We'll see how it goes. I'll give it some extra thought tomorrow. I'm not sold on it, but I like the idea of it. Of course, we've got to take our chances every now and then. But looking at the chart, we've got to wait for earnings. That's kind of the title of this particular section, I'd say. Wait for earnings, see what happens, and then you can kind of make a good judgment guess of where it might be heading. Because obviously we've got a couple of gaps here. We've got one down here and one down here, which would be interesting to see if they fill that. This one obviously less likely given the price action we see on the screen. And of course the target to the upside would be 590, which is all-time highs. There was a price target, wasn't it, 1,250 from someone?
1,250, right? Yeah, exactly.
So listen, that's over 100%.
If AMD goes to 180, you're seeing a crash across the entire AI stack.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And there's no reason really at the moment to even foresee that. So
there is, apart from having a black swan event, I don't expect AMD to hitting 180 anytime soon.
No, just take the gap off the screen then.
Can it hit 400? Yeah, absolutely. Because you're 476, you're only $76 away. And it moves $50, $60 in a week or in a day, actually. So for an earning, it could absolutely fill that gap. but it could
Yeah.
also hit the 590 level also from here. And then with the price targets, I think most of the price targets are, with 800, 900, 1250. And what could make the stock fall is only the AI trade is off, which I don't see happening.
Yeah, I think one thing I want to finish this section on potentially is the fact that these stocks are very volatile at the moment. So the technicals, although they may seem, appealing, they may not necessarily react to the technicals to the dollar really, or to the cent even. You might get a wick down to, say for example, we have that 400 support there. We may wick down to 380, 370. And then obviously recover and have that technical support at the 400 as the candle closes. But the intraday candles are going to be absolutely nuts. So just be careful if you are trading these names, particularly obviously in the sector, the AI sector, basically, which you probably already know. But I just wanted to kind of reinstate that for the viewers watching, of course. Any last words on AMD here, Kay,
No,
before we
I think
move
we
on?
have covered enough. We wait for the earnings, and we'll probably make a comment next week how it performs.
Absolutely. Looking forward to seeing how they turn out for sure, and what our kind of thoughts are following on from that. Of course, make sure you put your tech requests in the comments. We're slowly going to get into them in just a second. But I just wanted to talk about maybe next week heading into it. What's your plan? Because we don't really talk about our plans heading into next week. We just have a few kind of loose thoughts. Do you have any kind of plans for next week as such?
Yeah, so I think I do want to close out my covered calls for Tesla, and the reason is because the Tesla has fallen so much that I have gained like 50-60% on my those covered calls, which are long term covered calls. So I do want to close those. I'll be watching AMD and SpaceX very closely, intently, and then also because in my AI stack, I think the following week I'm covering Arista Network, so I'm going to watching that as well to kind of start to look at as an investment opportunity. That's pretty much it. What I'll be targeting next week.
Yeah, I think for me, it's got to be managing the positions I have, especially JP Morgan. I've got quite a large position in it. So, I mean, lots of different positions, but I like to kind of pull them in and out, that kind of stuff. I'm interested in Meta as well, seeing how that kind of reacts from last week. Kind of been in and out of that stock in the last 6 months, which is it's not like me. I never really got into Meta, but I'm kind
I think we lost Shaun for a second. Hopefully he'll return. Or maybe you lost me. I don't even know at this point in time who lost who.
of been in and out of that stock in the last 6 months, which is it's not like me. I never really got into Meta.
Let me see if we think we should lost Shaun. Let me ping him.
Of trading,
Yeah. We can hear you. We can hear you. Wow, beautiful. All right,
can you
let's
hear
start
me
with
clearly and
Russell.
everything now? Yeah.
Yes, I think should we start with Russell first?
Yes, of course. Let's jump into that. So,
We have stopped covering Russell at all, right? The
I
small
don't know.
cap, the mid cap, right?
Say that again. Sorry, I wasn't listening.
Russell is what, mid cap, right?
Yeah, small caps. Yeah.
Small caps.
Yeah. Okay. So IWM. Haven't looked at this chart for quite some time. As I mentioned at the beginning of the show, almost 300. Wow. I remember when we were back on the show with Nate back in the day, and it was 200, and we were talking about it breaking out of 200. Look at it go!
Which
Wow.
one? What was the ticker?
IWM.
IWM. Okay.
We missed completely Man Rams, by the way.
No, I have it listed here. I'm just
Oh,
going
okay.
in the order. Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, looking forward, it's hard to say anything really. I mean, if we are going to get a bit of a pullback, you can see the very clear trend line there.
I think if you look at the chart from a daily standpoint, it's a nice staircase. You consolidate, and then there's a little bit of a gap up, not a gap up, but it climbs the stairs. Then again, that's how it's been performing since we had that breakout over the 214. I remember, yeah, we used to track this on a weekly basis.
You're just talking about this path here, aren't you?
Yeah.
Where you're just kind of stair stepping and coming back down. Maybe we'll make a new high soon. Judging where the market goes, we'll see what happens there. That'd be good for stocks like SoFi and stuff like that, isn't it? So they're kind of smaller cap names, not small caps, but they're in this fund, I think. Don't really have much else to add to this, to be honest. more
Okay.
looking for pullback down to kind of 280 maybe.
No, I think for generally for these kind of index funds or ETFs, I think the best way is to dollar cost average, and
Yeah,
also use weighted dollar cost average. So what I mean by that is, if you, I don't know, let's say put $50 a week. I'm just giving an example. So you're putting $50 a week, and that's fine. Investing it every single week without thinking. But then when you see those 5%, 10%, drawdowns, then maybe increase your weight. What, from 50 you can put 100, 150, 200, whatever, right? So that's how I generally invest in the spies and QQQs of the world. I really don't look at it. Oh, I'm going to. How should I trade it? I'm not trading spy. And I know there are spy traders, but trading is different from investing, right? So if I'm investing long term, I just dollar cost average, and don't think too much about it. Yeah, I think we lost Sean today. We're back, Sean.
I don't know what's going on, okay. I really don't know
Yeah,
what's going on. My internet's fine.
yeah. Today you are the one. Okay. Anyways, let's move on to the Marvel then. Okay, today I think we have an issue with Sean's internet for sure. Okay, I mean, I'll talk about Marvel. I cannot share my screen, but let's continue. So Marvel is going to report earnings on 8/27. So we still got about 4 weeks, 3 4 weeks before they report earnings, and we do have an up revision of 25, and we are expecting a revenue of 2.7, which is going to be higher than the previous revenue of 2.42. So definitely, I feel like Marvel will also depend on how AMD is performing, right? And this is the whole issue with the AI trade is the same. If the AI trade does not work, or we see a pullback around the AMDs of the world, I think it's going to impact Marvel. But I do expect that if the AI trade is still on, Marvel is probably going to beat the earnings, and we'll probably see another up. Let me ping Sean also on the side. I think we lost you. Anyway, so I'm looking at the chart here for Marvel. Let me see if oh, he's back. Sean.
Hello.
Yeah. Okay. No, I was just
I don't know
talking
what's
about
going
the
on.
Marvel fundamentals as we were waiting for you, so you can pull up the chart. I was about to pull up the chart on my side.
I'm amazed it's still going live, actually. Sorry, everyone. I'm not sure what's going on here. I'm probably disappear again in a minute, but there's a chart.
Yeah. So I think the Marvel chart, I think we had that nice little pop up. I think what was that before earnings, right? That was around that earning time frame, July,
Yeah,
June.
so they've got earnings is here. Yeah. The
Yeah.
vertical line.
So
Yeah.
next earning is 8/27, and all I was saying was that I think AMD's earning is going to be very important, right, for the AI trade, and Marvel probably is going to drive from it. And I think Nvidia will report earnings somewhere around that time frame too, because Nvidia is generally the last company to report earning.
Yeah, the last big company for sure.
So it's going to report
It was kind
earnings.
of
Yeah, it's going to report earnings one day before Marvel on 8/26.
nice little setup then. Just looks like it's kind of breaking out there. So this is really interesting for me, at least. Coming back down for a bit of a retest, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we have had a bit of a push out of this zone here. Let me draw a rectangle. There, pushed out of that zone. Could even bring that down a bit. So yeah, I've got a nice little, a couple of points of confluence there. I've got a bit of volume here. It would be interesting to get it out of 210. That'd be better. But yeah, we'll see what happens there. I might
Do
put
you,
that
do you
down on my
thi- do you
list.
think that's a breakout, or is it? Oh, I see
Not
what you
yet.
have.
Yeah, not yet. But you can see it has broken out, and now it's kind of currently retesting.
Okay.
So if there's a green candle now, that especially if it pushes up above the high of the last candle, then that is definitely a breakout.
I see.
And then you put your stop loss. So for me personally, I would get in top of the candle there thereabouts. stop loss down below the bottom of that candle and have a target to wherever I deem the target to, which is probably this volume profile here. And that's a nice 4 to 1, hopefully before the earnings report. So I've actually stuck it down on my list.
And I will also add that the IV is very high on this. So if you are into option selling, I mean, for your IVs are 90s, in the mid 90s, high 90s as well. So you will get a pretty juicy premium.
There you go. Ideal. What's next?
Next is NBIS,
I
Nebius,
think we'll get through these for ManRam and obviously
Money Manage.
Money Managed as well. We'll get through these and then maybe leave it there.
Yeah,
Unless you've got any other tickers you want to desperately
I,
look
I
at,
I did not see any comments for any additional
because
tickers.
my internet is clearly not working.
Yeah,
What would you say? Which one?
Nebius,
This
NBIS.
this one's really volatile.
I mean,
Flies up and
all the
down.
three data centers are volatile. You have Iron, Nebius, and CoreWeave. All are getting hammered.
Yeah, but they go up like 10-20% a day and down, obviously, as well. It's just, how do you even sit through the volatility
You know,
for a long time?
actually, the last week, I think Monday, they were all down 20-30%. And the next day, they are up 30%.
Yeah, crazy, crazy, crazy. I think we've done some TA on this before. We've got 133 as a bit of a level there. We almost came down to there recently. I might actually just set an alert on that.
I think they report earnings on 8/12. It's going to be very, very interesting, I think. And
So
I
there.
think it's all about going to be debt. And Nebius
Yeah,
actually is the best among the three from a debt standpoint. And of course, how many contracts you're getting, how many data centers you're building, all that, jazz. Um, but I'm going to say that, I mean, investing, trading in these stocks is not for the faint of the heart.
no, it really isn't. 300 coincidentally is all-time highs, and that's
Yeah.
quite an exciting price target from where we are now, which is 190. So definitely a lot of money to be made here if you essentially have the balls. So we'll move on to the next one.
It's ENS. I'm not sure what
Yeah,
this.
this is the new one for me.
Yeah, this is new one.
Enesis. Oh no, it's not. We've done TA on it.
So let me just read what they do again. So they are into the electrical components and equipment and stored energy solution. Okay, makes sense. It's not on my watch list. I'll tell you that.
So it
But
was a lovely chart about a year ago.
I'm gonna.
Now it's kind of definitely pulled back, which is completely normal, of course. Where is the so it's just bounced off the 200 moving average, literally just 3 days ago. So that could be interesting. Maybe um, so Money Manager brought this up. Maybe he has a position, maybe added at the 200 moving average. I don't hate that. We've got the volume profile there as well. Obviously the gap fill. So that was 3 different points of confluence. If you did do that, well done. The next point to add, obviously we did have a bit of a red day on Friday, of course, coming off of this line that I seem to have drawn at some point. But if we are to come down and retest the 200 moving average again, I would definitely be looking for a higher low. So somewhere obviously above this low, where this line is really, to be fair. Something like that. Yeah. But not one for me, I don't think. Not
Mm.
currently
I
anyway.
think. I think just. I think. Unless we have the AI trade back in full swing, I think the problem with the pick and shovel plays is like if the core thesis or the core event starts to die down, then it impacts the pick and shovels much harder, right? So again, that's why I'm telling you AMD's earning is the key for next week. Anyways, moving on to Palantir, they report earnings
They do tomorrow evening.
Monday. Yes,
Always a fun spectacle, Palantir earnings.
I
They've
think
been trading sideways really for quite some time.
and I think this is a very critical point. Like it depends on how you draw your trend line, but I mean they are
Yeah,
below their 200. They are below their 200 basically. Yes, and they are below the 50 as well. They are below the 300 as well. So it's a very, very interesting. I mean, I
yeah.
really hope people, you know, mean, I know that the Palantir bulls, they keep like, keep adding. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's still in a downtrend overall.
Yeah, so I've just drawn a parallel channel there, as you can see on the screen, everyone. So you've got a very clear price action going into this. And this is now the weekly chart, as you can see on the screen. It's a bit loose, obviously, with the kind of highs and the lows, but you get the drift. So, typically now you'd be looking at kind of making a move towards the high of the channel and then back down to low until obviously either side breaks. What I do like about this is obviously this zone here, which we probably pointed out in the past as well.
Mhm.
This sort of area here, which had previous resistance and of course a previous support candle here on a weekly. So that's really nice to see, especially before a big run. So to see it come down and react in that way is really, really nice. Of course, earnings is anything can happen, but what you kind of really want is almost like a non-event. So an earnings that maybe goes up 5% or down 5%, something that's very minimal. Just give it time to kind of digest the numbers. Hopefully they're good, and in that case, we might see a move back out of the channel to the upside,
Yeah.
to all-time highs of 200-ish. So that's what I would be looking for. I'm not going to trade it yet. I'm going to sit on my hands. I do like Palantir. Don't get me wrong. I have traded it in the past. Kaye, have you traded Palantir much? I know you probably
Not
haven't really,
not
have you?
No, not recently, but I have my zone between the 85-98. Once it gets into the zone, that's when I'll get back into Palantir. But yeah,
And that's down here, isn't it? That area.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Cool. All right.
Generally, I don't tend to touch stocks that are, either I have been trading that stock for a very long time, but newer stocks I don't tend to touch if they are in either uptrend or downtrend. I generally like stocks that are in a range, because like if you're selling covered calls and you're selling options, you want things to be in a range bound rather than too much of a spike either way, up or down. Moving on to next one is ARM. I think they report earnings soon too, right? Maybe in the next 2 weeks or so. Let's see. They report,
Yeah.
no. They just reported earnings 729, and they
If
beat
there's
top
ever a
line and bottom line.
if there's ever a good chance, a good chart to kind of show what's happened in the last 6 months, this is it. Uh, straight up, straight down. It's like the silver chart.
It's like
Um,
those days of AMC and GME.
yeah. So anywhere between 200, I mean, 200 would be the ultimate bottom, I think, for me. If I was going to add or start a position, which I don't plan to with these types of stocks at the moment. Or at least that, not this one, because there's bigger names like Micron and AMD that I'm probably a bit more interested in trading, small volume, etc. But down to 200, 220, that sort of area would be good. Any thoughts on ARM, technically?
Uh, no,
It's
I
very
think,
similar to Marvell, actually.
yeah, I think I would prefer Marvel on this one, but again, I think IV is very high as well. So if you're selling options, you definitely will get a lot of more premium. I do want to look at the earnings result, because I don't track this often, so I'm not. I mean, I'm not sure why we had such a reaction post earnings. But the problem is that you have all the moving averages apart from the 200 and 300. uh, it has really not been able to break that, the 50 and the 220 SMA, and it's acting as a resistance for a couple weeks now, actually from June, end of June, and even the earnings was not able to break it. So that's very interesting. And the point of contact on from a volume scale is like around the 212. So it keeps it's getting compressed to that level. And of course we have the 200-day SMA coming up. It's interesting. I'm not gonna lie, it's interesting. And but because of the volatile nature of the AI trade in general, you have to be very careful, especially if you're selling options for premiums. I mean, you could end up holding the stock below your cost basis in
Yeah.
cases like these, especially if you're selling options. Because see, the difference between selling options and you day trading is that in day trading you're putting these stop losses. The problem with option selling is that yes, you could put stop losses, but then every single time you will end up triggering your stop loss, and you will always end up not making any premium. So the key is that you generally sell options for long enough time where price comes back, either your shares get called away, or somehow you make the entire profit on covered calls, or CSPU, where you don't get assigned and you keep the full premium. So a little bit of a different methodology, or the sequence, but I don't think I would touch ARM at this point in time. Marvel, maybe. Okay.
Okay, I think that's good to end it there.
Next is
Yeah,
CRDO. Are they reporting earnings? Let me see.
not until September.
Oh wow. Okay. So do.
We have seen the stock before.
Yes. What do they do? I know. I know the ticker. I just always don't remember what they do. Let me see. They are semiconductors. No wonder.
Yes, it's tricky to read this chart.
Tredo, right? Yeah.
We do have a bit of a bull flag, which I do love. To be fair, it's one of my setups, but it's a very sharp bull flag,
Man,
as in like it coming down quite aggressively.
dude, the IV on this one is over 100. It's 111, 112 IV.
That's mad. There's definitely money to be made if it does break this to the upside, and the market proves us good opportunities. Just a simple trade to the back of the top of the wedge there would be really nice. Looking at about 3-1, and a potential 39% to be made if you were just doing a 1-for-1 stock. That's without leverage, which is crazy, actually. I might write that down.
No,
I like that.
I'm liking this too as well. I mean, let me just share this. I mean, with the high IV and not reporting earnings anytime soon. I mean, you
So
could
what's
sell.
your approach then? What's your approach to this then?
You know what? I mean, so I could probably sell a CSP around the 200-day SMA, right? Which is about 20% from here onwards. And
Bring that up.
and hope that it expires worthless without me getting assigned. That way I could make, because that's a very very conservative delta. That's like I think 10 delta, which means that the chance of the price being in that range is about 10%, right?
Yeah.
So
Crazy.
right? And I would still make
Yeah.
a decent premium. Like it's about $100, $108, $9 you'll get on that, which is for 5 days, a weekly. I'm talking about a weekly, not even like a monthly. If you go a month out on it, which I would not recommend, for that, what's the 162, right? What is that?
What are
162.
you looking?
$800.
Oh, the 200.
Yeah,
Yeah.
$800 you'll get. But the problem is the key to option selling is when you have such high delta, high IV, you don't go out that far out. You'll get destroyed. So, yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, obviously, me and you would trade this one differently, I'd say, because you're obviously more options based, and I would just trade the shares.
Yeah. So interesting. I think among all of them so far, I think I like this and Marvel.
Yeah, Marvel is definitely one that I'm looking at tomorrow because that's already kind of made its move. The CRDO and ARM haven't quite made that move yet. Okay, we'll move on to the last one of the day then, which is A-Lab, Stera
Yeah.
Labs. This is one of those I've had in the past, but
Aren't they
not
reporting
recently.
earnings as well?
Oh, wow, that's depressing.
No, I think they're reporting earnings as well. A-Lab.
Yeah, they're reporting Tuesday.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, I've obviously done some TA in the past and not caught the breakout.
I mean,
Classic me, that is. Classic me.
so they made a revenue of 308 million last quarter, and we are expected to make a revenue of 360 million. That's 50 million almost above last quarter. That's pretty big jump. Crazy. Are you liking the chart?
Yeah, I was here. Yeah. So this is obviously already drawn on my chart, and I'm just looking at it with a bit of reminiscence of what could have been. But anyway, yeah, looking at the chart now, we've got obviously previous resistance back here, which obviously is a very big turning point in October of 2025. Where is my line? There we go. Put a line in there. It's recently bounced off of that support, which I think is really, really nice. It's tricky to get into this now, especially a couple of days before earnings. However, depending on the results, if we came back down to this kind of 260 level and wanted to retest that previous high back there, and obviously the support we've just done, it could be an interesting point, but it has to be fundamentally sound. I'm not too interested in this. Clearly, I've already missed it, the main move. Just because,
400% from the bottom on that trend line to the top.
yeah, no, don't rub it in, Kay. There's no need for that. That's just rude. But yeah, look, if you go up there, I mean that's 240%. But the bottom of the trend line, yeah, I mean crazy moves. Congratulations if you were in that. You're not being spiteful or anything like that. This is what the trading's all about. We always need to celebrate not just our own wins, but other people's wins as well. And that's why
No,
we like to come in here
I
every
really
Sunday.
hope. Yeah, I really hope that Manram, you really made money on that one, because I think with the AI trade in general, people have really made good amount of money. And the best part is it's in all wide variety of names. It's not like stuck, like let's say for example you were a Palantir bull and you made money on Palantir, but it was very concentrated on like few names. In this AI revolution, you have seen people making money in wide variety of names in different stacks of AI, and that's the best part.
Absolutely. Yeah, couldn't have said that any better, really. Okay, we'll finish it there then. We've had a bit of technical difficulties today. I do apologise. Hopefully next week my internet will hold up. But we've had some really good tickers today, and I've actually written down 3 or 4, which is always really nice to see. Thank you once again for Money Manage and ManRam having the bulk of those tickers. We really appreciate you coming in, week out. It's going to be a really fun week. Lots of earnings, lots of volatility. Probably lots of news around the Strait of Hormuz and ongoing geopolitical issues that we've got, and obviously the new Fed chair coming out saying we're probably not going to be doing any more meetings in the rest of the year. We'll see how that goes, continues. But that's what makes the market so fun. It's always something going on. There's always opportunities. It's just how we manage and take those opportunities, in my opinion, of course. Massive thank you once again to Wolf Financial up there in the top left-hand corner. We couldn't do without you. Kaye, let's end the week with some thoughts from you, and we'll get on to next week at 1 p.m. Eastern time as normal.
Yeah, like I always say, right? Earnings are a binary trade, and you know what? If you don't feel it, don't take a trade. Like for example, I'm not taking any earnings trade this time. I'm just waiting and watching. Generally, I take earnings trade. I like to take earnings trade, but right now, not. I'm going to just watch AMD, watch SpaceX. I think SpaceX is going to be a very, very interesting earnings, especially because there's the first earnings report after IPO.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one a lot, actually. See how that kind of moves, especially the day after. It'll be very interesting. Just the last thing, obviously, make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube as well. We don't often say it. In fact, we don't really say it at all. But you can see on the screen there at Trading Weekly on YouTube. Yeah, really appreciate your support, everyone. And we'll see you next week, 1 p.m. Eastern time, as always, on Sunday. Take care, everyone. Have a safe trading week. See you later, Kaye.
Have fun.